Brian are very heated about this, and we were discussing this offline. So we definitely going to try to squeeze in a little bit of baseball. Then we're going to recap the NFL divisional round of the playoffs and preview the championship games next Sunday, right up into the Super preparing us for the Super Bowl. And then we're going to talk NCAA football before kickoff to end the show. Appreciate y'all checking us out. If you heard the music playing before, that was some of my tracks that I've been talking about for a while, putting them out there. But I finally got everything taken care of. I got my SoundCloud account back up. Check out the Beats by CP3. You know, we do it all over here on TruRadio Network. And before we go any further, you know, as always, got to thank the viewers, the listeners, the contributors, the folks that's part of Team SportsOTHP, and the folks that support the movement that's going on right now. Because without y'all, it wouldn't be possible. But just thank y'all for keeping on growing with us. 2020 is going to be a huge year. We got so much stuff in store. Got some things in the works. So stay tuned. Keep following. Keep listening. Because we're going to keep doing what we do. Robbie G, I see you on the line now. Everything good to go? How you doing tonight, good sir?
It's going really good. It's going really good. I'm trying to get a bunch of things running in the man cave. I just created a new screen for us to talk hockey. I went live myself. I'm trying to go live from the page. But yeah, no, it's a crazy night. We got a live hockey game that we'll be talking about. We've got that national championship game that we're going to be talking about. I got some friends that'll be joining me live in the man cave in just a couple of minutes as well. So lots to talk about, and so I'm going to quickly try to share the post to a couple of groups. And yeah, so but do you want to go through the scoring of the Ottawa game while I share it to a couple of groups?
Most definite. They had a 1-2 week, as I mentioned earlier. They had a matchup with Ottawa at home, went to Philly, and had the New Jersey Devils here, I believe, Saturday. This was a rather disappointing week in my eyes, because I felt this team should have went 3-0, but unfortunately only went 1-2. And the only victory of the week was against the Ottawa Senators, which they played on the 7th. They won that game 6-1. Samsonov was in goal. He's now 12-2-1. He gave up 1 goal on 27 shots attempted. The Caps were down 1-0 going into the second period, when they just exploded for 6 unanswered goals, starting in the second with 3 goals, 1 by Oshie, which was his 17th of the season, which made it a 1-1 game. Then Gudis, the defenseman that has been taking some cheap shots lately, he got on the board to make it 2-1, and Ovi got on the board in the last goal in the second period for his 25th of the season and made it 3-1. Then going into the third, the Caps put 3 more on the board. TJ Oshie scoring his second goal of the night, his 18th of the season, which made it 5-1. Lars Eller had a goal, which was his 11th of the season, which made it 5-1. And Ovi, for good measure, got his second goal of the night, his 26th of the season, making it 6-1. And the Capitals shot Ottawa 41-27. They had a slow start. Ottawa plays a methodical game, and they have a lot of youth on the ice. But we saw the Capitals' experience and skill shine through for, as I said, 6 unanswered goals to put this one away and get them ready for the back-to-back versus Philly. Robbie, did you get a chance to check this game out, and what did you think about it?
I definitely got to check it out. I actually was covering it live. I'm doing a Pokemon Tuesdays now over on my Web and Games channel and also on my YouTube channel. If you want links to it, always sportsothp.com. You can click on either of our YouTube buttons, and you can get Carol's feeds or my feed. Yeah, so I got to watch the Capitals play and get to play a video game all at the same time. So it was a great night. I mean, they crushed Ottawa so badly that I was doing a third period stream. I even wrote in the description, watch Capitals crush Ottawa. Like, I was so confident already by the beginning of the third period that we were going to crush them. So it was kind of a laugher, which is rare for the Capitals. They've beaten Ottawa so many times over the last bunch of games. And so it's just been it was nice to get a big win like that. It started off a little bit slow. In fact, I believe they scored the first goal, if I remember correctly, and then we scored 6 unanswered. So yeah, it was a good game for the Capitals, and it was a much-needed win, especially with how the rest of the week went.
Yeah, most then they, pretty much the game early in the third, you figure that the guys had rest going into Philly. And, that Philly game, the next game wasn't really that bad. It was an unfortunate loss. Definitely going to speak on the way that they lost. But I felt like it was a good momentum going into Philly, and it will hopefully, propel them to get a victory because Philly has been playing some good hockey also.
For sure. And I remember I warned everybody on last week's episode, don't look any of these teams. I mean, Ottawa, I guess, really was that bad. But Philadelphia and New Jersey are desperate for wins, and they showed it. I thought that they played some really, really good hockey, and it was definitely a difficult bunch of games for us. So why don't you get into the Philadelphia scoring here?
Yeah, the Philadelphia game was an unfortunate 3-2 loss. Hope was in net. He dropped to 18-8-4. He gave up 3 goals on 27 shots allowed. The first period, they were down 1-0. Then Backstrom scored his 9th goal of the season to make it 1-1. Then Rana scored a little bit after that. I think it was about 3 to 5 minutes after that to give the Kings a lead, and I felt like they had the momentum, gave them 2-1 lead. But then Philly was playing some tight defense on the Capitals. They were taking away all the time and space, and they were playing very aggressive against the Capitals. And the Capitals, normally they, when that happens, they ratchet it up in the physical level and get the forecheck going to make them back off. But Philly was so relentless that it didn't. The 50-50 pucks were going Philly's way because they were hustling more, I'd say, than the Capitals were. And at the end of the first period, it was a 2-2 tie. Going into the second period, everything looked good with the Caps going on the power play. And an unfortunate fancy play on the power play instead of a simple dump in. They tried, not a simple pass. Unfortunately, it got picked off and ended up going in our net on the shorthanded goal, which is the worst, which put it 3-2, and there was no more scoring in the game. And final score 3-2. On the shorthanded goal is against us. I hate it. I hate it worse at home. On the road, it's understandable. It can happen, especially against a team like the Flyers, who, as I said, are aggressive. But to be the game-deciding goal on a shorthanded goal just really, really sucked to me. What do you think, Robbie? I hate shorthanded goals because it's like a slap in the face because it's 4-on-5, and it's always an unfortunate bounce or, a player hustling and, something going his way. That play, like right there, was like they was being too comfortable and not being aggressive as Philly was, and it led to Philly, getting the game-winning goal on a shorthanded goal, which was, like I said, one of the worst ways to lose.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hate shorties. We've been giving up a lot of them. I haven't looked at the statistic yet, but I know that we must be one of the top teams in the league in allowing for shorthanded goals. And it's just very frustrating. 2 games in a row, shorties killed us. I thought there was opportunities to, especially in a 2-2 Philadelphia game. I mean, that really crushes us. But even in the New Jersey game that we'll talk about in a second, there was an opportunity for a comeback that was stifled because of a shorthanded goal. So you lose a lot of momentum, especially on the power play. I mean, the goal is to try to snuff out a power play and try to not allow the team to score. But if you can get a goal yourself, the momentum can shift wildly. So for me, these were some big moments in these games. And Philadelphia, played a really tough game in Philly, national television, and it was just been frustrating. The Caps have played against all the teams outside of our division really, really well, but somehow they've been struggling playing teams in the Metro, and we have a couple of games up here right before the All-Star break all against the Metro. But overall, I just was kind of disappointed. I thought that we started off pretty well, but overall, they just the Flyers just seem to want it more.
Yeah, I mean, remember last year the Capitals, for the last 2 years, pretty much the Capitals dominated the Metro. I ain't gonna say dominated, but they handled their business against the Metro. They had more wins than losses. So I mean, we know how tough the Metro division is, and we know how much parity there is in the league. So yeah, this year, the teams are getting tougher. Teams are getting better. The Capitals have always been, better skilled than other players and than other teams. Now other teams are starting to, level off and get some talent too. They don't have the talent on 3 to 4 lines as the Capitals do, but they have a formidable team that, you know, if the Caps aren't playing their best hockey and the other team is, you know, hustling and getting those 50-50 pucks, you know, we all know what happens in hockey, especially in playoff time, but also in the regular season. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, the All-Star break is approaching, and we're going to see they're still number one in the Metro with a 4-point lead, and ironically in a 3-way tie for the best record in the league with Boston and St. Louis. And did mention the Caps game puck did drop about 3 minutes ago, 16:58 in the first period. Caps are in the zone trying to get some puck possession. They just cleared it, tied 0-0. Carolina in D.C. Last time these two teams were missing, I believe the Caps won 2 out of 3 rounds, or 3 out of 4. I came out with this 5 times in the season. I can't remember what the season series. I believe the Caps are up though.
I don't know. I kind of want to think the Canes have beaten us twice already, so I'm not sure. I know we've beaten them once, but I think Carolina may have beaten us twice. So I know they've played us really tough so far. We may have gotten one more win, but it's been a very close series all the way through for sure. Carolina always plays us tough, and now they got Justin Williams back, so that always makes things a little bit more difficult. So I don't know if he's back for this game, but I know they just re-signed him.
I didn't know that he came back.
Yep. They just re-signed him.
But he was injured.
No. He decided to take. No. He decided to take the first half of the season off. And.
I didn't think I saw him on the Rockies before when they played.
Nope. Yeah, he took the half the season off. They thought because they get him a little bit more rest in the first half of the season, and then get him on a cheaper contract for the end of the season. So yeah, it's an interesting play. In fact, the Capitals were in play for picking him up, but we didn't have the cap space for it. So yeah.
Oh, that was interesting. I didn't know about that. That's very interesting fact. I did not know. Learn something new every day.
Yep. It was.
Let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing. I've never heard that before. Trying to rest a player for half of a season, but he is older, and who knows? The Carolina realizes they need him for the push at the end more than they do for the first half of the season.
Well, everyone is in Yammer Yard and can play to their 45 and play almost every night. So I mean, he's older. He's a plus a more physical player in front. So his body has some wear and tear, and he's in almost 20th season, I believe. So you might as well, just like Ovi's resting for the All-Star. He's not going to, play in the All-Star to get some more rest. But, you almost, Justin is pushing 40, isn't he? About 38, 39 at least? Yeah,
he's got to be up there. I don't have his age on the top of my head. Hold on, I can pull it up, though. Yeah, I mean...
So I know he's pushing 40.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. We'll pull it up right here. So I just want to let people know that Sammy is in goal for the Caps. He's been playing great. 12-2-1 with a 2.24 goals against and a 92 save average, which is actually doing better than Holtby, especially over the last 10 games. So that's interesting. He was born in 1981, so that makes him 38 years old. So... to answer that question. But yeah, he's getting close to 40, but 38 is pretty old in hockey terms. So
yeah, yes indeed. But he still plays at a high level. He missed the game 7 for a reason. So
except for us, he's played well in game 7s for every team but the Capitals. So oh well.
Hey, it's all good. We got to come after he left, so it's all good.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's get into this New Jersey game.
Yeah, this head scratcher game. If you feel me live, I'm scratching my head. I didn't see the game. I was watching the NFL playoff games. I just saw the score, and after I saw what the score was, I didn't really turn it on. I was at work anyway, so we just had one game on anyway. They faced the New Jersey Devils on Saturday, lost that game 5-1. I still don't know how that happened. I didn't even watch the replay once I saw the score. I just chalked it up as a bad game. Holtby was in net. He lost the game, ended up dropping him to 18-9-4. He gave up 4 goals on 21 shots allowed. The Caps were down 3-0 before they got their lone goal by Rana, his 20th of the season, which was a power play goal. The Caps had plenty of opportunity to get back, into the game, having 5 power plays, but They only went 1 for 5 with Ronda scoring that lone goal, and they outshot New Jersey 32-26. But like I said, I didn't get a chance to see the game. Robbie, did you get a chance to check it out?
Oh yes, I watched that game. That was not good. So. All right, so Saturday was a bad sports night. You know, of course I do this podcast, and so I'm a Redskins fan. We'll start there. But I also really like the Baltimore Ravens, and I know that upsets some DC sports fans. But it is the case, and I do root for them. So I had 2 games on. Got the Ravens, got the Capitals, and it was really bad for the Capitals because they started first. And so I put them on the second TV, and I put the Ravens on the first TV. And then it gets really bad for the Ravens. And it gets worse for the Capitals. So I moved the Capitals to my third TV and the Ravens to the second one and start watching Jeopardy. And trust me when I say the Jeopardy game was the best thing of the 3 without a shadow of doubt. You know, just the lack of energy in the New Jersey game, I just felt like they weren't really trying. And I know that sometimes that's the case and sometimes just teams outwork you. But you know, you felt like they had a couple of days off. They should have had more energy for the game. But they just, I thought... Veronigo was great, but that was basically just to make up for the fact that they had already given a shorthanded goal up. And it's just, overall, I thought a lackluster performance. And I'm a little bummed for sure. And I hope that the Capitals can put together a better performance tonight against Carolina. But it was just a disappointing game all around in my book.
Yeah, from the score, when I checked it, it was already 3-1. I was shocked. I was like, no, I think it was 2-0 the first time I checked. And when I looked back, it was 3-1. I knew something wasn't right. I mean, I'm not saying it was Hopi, but Hopi hasn't, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Hopi hasn't looked himself. It's still early in the season, so hopefully he can get locked in. But I do feel more comfortable with Samsonov in that than I do with Hopi for some reason. He's just, playing well and doing this thing. He's a compact goalie. He doesn't, like he's doing, it doesn't make it look too difficult. He isn't doing too much. He doesn't really mishandle the puck. He doesn't do too much with the puck. He gets it out as soon as possible. So, I mean, we talked about Hopi, being a free agent at the end of the season. Save that money, Samsonov, and depending on how the season ends, invest it in something else. Nicky's contract is up and some other pieces that can be, signed. So we're going to see how it plays out. But team has 2 other games this week. We mentioned they're playing Carolina right now, still 0-0.
Well,
13-15 left in the first period.
Can I give a quick update on the Carolina game? Because Richard Panik just, or Panik, or however you pronounce his name, just drew a tripping call on Svechnikov. So Capitals go to a power play, 1:38 left in the power play with about 12:24 left in the first period. But our power plays just look dismal, and I don't know what's wrong with it, but it is definitely the biggest weakness of the Capitals right now. When they were dominating, their power play was clicking, and other teams are just playing really aggressive against our power play, and it's working. But we got to find a way to shift it around to use some of that aggression against them. Right now, it's just they look like they're dead in the water, and they just wasted the first minute of the power play. Speaking about that. So, Carolina is the game tonight. They have another game against New Jersey, so a chance for a revenge on Thursday, January 16th at 7, and then Saturday, January 18th at New York Islanders. That is a 1 o'clock in the afternoon game. So we got a couple of games here against the Metro. Hopefully we can get some victories. And then there's going to be the All-Star break. So next week on the podcast, we'll recap those 3 games, and I'll get Carol's thoughts on them in just a second, but then we'll also talk about the All-Star game, and I just want to give a quick little shout-out. This is episode 177. We're dedicating, because it has 77 in the name, to TJ Oshie for making the All-Star team. So congratulations to him. He got voted in as the last man in for the Metropolitan Division. I believe that we were allowed to have another player as part of that voting because Ovechkin is sitting it out and is going to take the 1-game suspension. I don't think it's been decided whether it's going to be the game before or the game after the All-Star break, but we desperately need this break. And people are questioning, is it bad to peak too soon? I went on the Power Play Point podcast a couple weeks ago, and Gil asked me that question. I said, no, you can never get too many wins at any time, because we will go through slumps, And this season reminds me a lot of the 2018 season, where we were hot at some points, we went through some downturns, Holtby didn't look good for times, we relied on the backup goaltender down the stretch, and but eventually that gave Holtby the rest and the reset that he needed. We were able to dominate after those first 2 games in the playoffs. And so I could see a very similar situation happening again. We just lost the face-off in this power play. 15 seconds left in the power play, but it looks like it's another power play that will go scoreless for the Capitals unless they can do something here in the final 5 seconds. But it's just the season seemed very similar, but the Capitals have got to understand that other teams are watching them, and they're starting to see their tendencies. And I believe the Capitals will just turn it back on again. But these other teams are desperate for points as well. So you can't just sort of rely on that idea that you can flip a switch at any time. They're going to have to go out and grind out some of these victories. Especially last week we were talking about hopefully getting 2 or 3 of those wins, and we only got 1. But for me, it's not do or die. There's lots of Caps fans on boards that are like, got to get rid of Holtby. I don't think that's the case. I want him for the playoffs. Even if we get nothing for him and he walks at the end of the season, he's still worth the shot. Because right now we're, one of the top 4 teams with a chance to win the Cup, right? Odds on, top 4 teams. So with that being said, you got to take your shot. And even if we do use Sammy a lot down the stretch, Holtby's still got to be our number 1 guy. But I'm excited for the future for Sammy, but for me, trading Holtby at this point, I mean, who are you going to have backup Samsonov? You're going to go back to Phoenix Copley being his backup? I'm not sold on that. And I think, especially with playoff experience, Holtby turns it on to another level in the playoffs. And so for me, that I don't want to give it up too soon. What are your thoughts on that?
If this was the Capitals of old, I would say, yeah, that could be the case. But this team knows how to win. And, you're going to get teams best because, like you said, they're favored to win the Cup. They won it in 2018, looking to try to, get something going like Chicago did in the early 2000s when they won in the early teens of the 2000s when they won 2 out of 3. So, I mean, all that trading, trading somebody isn't always the answer, even though folks think that it is. But like you say, there's ups and downs. 82 games in a hockey season. You're going to have ups and downs. No team is always going to be always on top, always winning. Well, we saw what happens when that does happen when the Capitals won the President's Trophy, and we saw with Tampa Bay won the President's Trophy last year. They had a first-round early exit. So you don't have to be on top all the time. Unfortunately, fans want perfection and want to be able to have bragging rights and, want the Capitals to blow out teams, and same thing with all the other teams that we love. But, I mean, there's no reason to trade Holtby now. Like you said, he does walk without us getting anything in return. I mean, he had a good career here. He got a cup here. He got a Vezina. He's one of the top goalies. But, it is what it is. It's time for a change of scenery. If it is, then do that. And the cupboard isn't bare here. You got Samsonov. You mentioned Copley. And, other goalies down there in the AHL. So I'm not concerned at all. I feel that this team is the best team in the league, record-wise and team-wise. And I'm not even really concerned about it. I think the team is going to be fine. And I'm still riding my prediction that they're going to win their second cup in 3 years.
Yeah, I think that they have a really good shot at it as well. But for me, you got to just keep Holtby to the end, even if you lose out on some future picks or future things. Right now, I think that the team as it's constructed, we saw how they were at the beginning of the season. I think when they're playing their game, they're definitely one of the tough teams to beat. So they're showing Tom Wilson right now on the Jumbotron, and the fans are saluting him. It's his 500th game. He's one of the youngest in our franchise history to hit the 500-game milestone. So that's congratulations to him. I know that you and Anna, who's not on tonight's show, are big fans of his. And I definitely recommend everyone go check out Anna on the SportsOTHP website, Power Play Point Podcast. They just dropped their podcast from yesterday. But I know that they had to walk Gil off the ledge because he's been pretty frustrated with the Caps' play of late. So, but I'm sure that's a good listen. It was dropped actually just a couple minutes before the podcast, so I'll have to check it out tomorrow myself. But I think any final thoughts on this upcoming week, Carolina, New Jersey Islanders, before we bring in our Wizards guys in the man cave?
Carolina, hopefully, like I said, it's a tough division game. I think the Capitals can, when they're playing some decent hockey right now, like you mentioned, the power play isn't really, humming like we're used to, and teams are adjusting. So, but this team is the best team 5-on-5 and 6-on-5, stat-wise and play-wise. So they're never out of it. Even when it is a 5-1 game, they can find a way to come back. Even when they're down 2 goals in the last minute after giving up an empty net goal, they find a way to come back. When you see that, and not just in preseason or in some exhibition or some fancy game or whatever, in a real regular season game, I don't know how you can go from, so hot to cold that, you're seeing what they do, and then they have a couple of bad games, and you're ready to trade this person, trade that person, to fire this person. I understand, how fans are, so it's just crazy, but I think they can beat Carolina tonight. Samsonov looking pretty good in that. They had a little, I know I'm behind you. I'm streaming the game on my TV, so I'm a little bit behind. But he looked, good in that as usual. 5-5, they're playing well. They haven't taken any dumb penalties. So I feel like this is a winnable game. As you mentioned, New Jersey, they definitely have to man up and make up for that 5-1 loss on Saturday. And hopefully they do, because that team, it's been on the fire sale, selling off this talent for a while now. So, they're hungry, young players to try to make a name for themselves. So, if they step up to play the Capitals and play their best hockey, the Capitals got to step up also. So, once again, then they have the Islanders on, a 1 o'clock game. There's always an issue, with the players playing a little bit early, not having their routine. But we know it's going to be a tough game. It's against the Trotz team. The Trotz knows this team well. So it's going to be a tough one. Hopefully it'll be a victory for the Capitals, and they get back on the winning side of things and not just 1 and 2. I think it's the first one in a while, the first one this season. So
Carol, I got to interrupt you. Carol, the goal horn just went off. Ovechkin.
Oh, I'm behind you. So.
I know. That's why I was trying to interrupt. His 27th goal of the season, 685th career goal, coming down the wing. He sort of swivels around Tom Wilson down below the line, and then back to Ovechkin, who just rifles it home. It's a great play down low by Tom Wilson to sort of keep the guy on his back hip. Ovi also, was sort of double teamed, and then he just skated right to the middle, got by the guy, and scored. It was a great goal by Ovechkin. About 7:55 left in the first period. The Caps take a 1-0 lead over Carolina. So hopefully more goals to come. I'm always happy to see the goal horn go off, especially during a Sports on the Hill podcast. But with that, let's switch gears because it's already 7:30, and we're trying to get through a ton of topics tonight in just about an hour. So we're gonna switch gears, and we're gonna bring in our live guys here in the man cave. So we got Tim and Brian. Let me just see if I can adjust this video feed right there. Awesome. So Tim and Brian are live here. If you want to check us out, sportsothp.com, or go to facebook.com/sportsothp. You can see the live stream. I'm trying a new 2-camera look tonight, which is pretty cool. Like and that's the delayed view. But anyway, so you guys can see a little bit of what we're seeing. And but yeah, so a bunch of games this week. So when we last left off, the Wizards had beat Denver in a very exciting game, and then they were playing Boston. They ended up winning that game 99-94. I'm not going to do a breakdown by quarter for today. We're just going to do the score and our quick takes on them as we try to get through this relatively quickly. So Boston, again, we won that game 99-94. Tim, you said you were able to check out that game?
Yeah, I watched a good chunk of it.
What were some of your thoughts on it?
Well, basically, the Wizards, have been playing great at home for the most part lately. Boston, that's a team that might be there at the end in the Eastern Conference, and the Wizards led the game for most of it and pulled out the victory. I think, obviously great defensive effort. Anytime we let in less than 100 points, that's always going to work for us. And so, one of the best victories recently, probably the whole season.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, Brian, you weren't. Did you watch that game?
I saw this game.
Oh, you saw that
this
game?
The Celtics game, and it was a really good game for the Wizards. Really good game in general, back and forth, and there were a lot of Celtics fans in the arena. So at times it sounded like a Celtics home game, but it was good to see the Wizards pull out the win in DC. Ish Smith played great in this game. He had 27 points, and he actually got MVP chants from the crowd that was Wizards fans, which I thought was pretty cool. It was a good win, and the Wizards have shown that they are capable on any given night of beating a playoff quality team. They beat Denver before this, and then they beat the Celtics in this game. So definitely a good win. Awesome,
yes. So the next game was not a good game. It was a blowout loss, 123-89 at Orlando. Tim, what were some of your thoughts on that one?
Well, This was a horrible game. The Wizards now were swept by Orlando already this season, so that's 0-4 against a team that's hovering around 500 basically. Not a result that you want to have. Beal didn't play in this game, I'm pretty sure. I know it was a lot of bench scoring, a lot of bench players having to play. But the Wizards had a terrible second half in particular and were just never really competitive. So, very short-handed team. Clearly we don't match up against the Magic well this year, which is weird because the Wizards have played very well against them in recent years, especially Beal kind of kills them. So, you see us winning some great home games like against the Celtics, and then this happens.
Yeah.
Kind of 2 steps backward.
Yeah, for sure. Any thoughts on the Orlando one before we move on?
No, just another tough loss, and it's crazy they've already been swept by Orlando this season. Season series is already over, and Orlando pretty much dominated them in every game. Kind of surprising, but definitely a bad loss, especially after beating the Celtics just 2 nights earlier.
For sure.
I mean, surprising to play a team 4 times this early and then lose all 4 badly.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a tough one for them, especially because I feel like Orlando. We've beaten teams that are better than Orlando, but it just seems that they have our number. It's interesting how well I thought that the Wizards have been playing with mostly G League talent, though. Like a lot of these games. Yeah, we had
those
no
guys play
business.
their hearts out.
Yeah,
they play really well.
They play team defense, which I think is really an exciting thing.
And they score. There's a lot of games because the starting lineup is so feeble with Mahinmi and the likes of those players that there's games they score 60% of their points.
Yeah.
And these guys are like no names. So
it's crazy.
Says a lot about the roster.
But I think that it also says something about the coaching and the defensive prowess of some of these players, where I feel like a lot of our superstars don't necessarily follow the coaching or don't try as hard on defense, because a lot of people blame the coach for it. But if the coach is putting these G Leaguers into these spots and they're performing,
I don't think it's Scott Brooks' problem, really, the way the Wizards' season has gone so far. His coaching's been not really a huge issue, I would say, but these guys are playing their hearts out, and I think that shows.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and then the next game is against Atlanta, 111-101 victory. I was able to catch parts of this game, especially in the fourth quarter. It was interesting. There was times where I thought the Wizards were going to pull away, and then they didn't. And in general, it's kind of a back and forth game between these two teams. Tim, any thoughts on that one?
Well, just like a college basketball thing, because Maryland is one of the local teams. I think the Hawks have 3 Maryland players on their roster, so it was a little bit of a homecoming. You have like Kevin Huerter, Bruno Fernandez, and I think Layman's on their team. Maybe.
I'm not even sure. Yeah.
So that's kind of cool, and one of the few teams that the Wizards should beat and did beat. So it's good to have one of those every once in a while.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and the last one was this Utah game, which I definitely caught parts of on Sunday. And I thought that the Wizards were actually going to beat this pretty good Utah team, but they kind of fell apart in the end. And Utah went on this crazy run in the second half. And then I thought that the Wizards had no chance to try to catch up with them. They cut it to 3, but then that was as close as they ever got as Utah kind of pulled away towards the end a little bit. That game, again, was 127 to 116. But I don't think that the score does justice for how well I thought the Wizards played throughout that game. Tim, do you have any thoughts on that one?
No, I mean, it's disappointing even to lose to a playoff team like Utah when you're up by 15 in a home game in the third quarter, which is what we saw together yesterday. You should pull that win out, but just, like the talent disparities there, and what are you going to do?
Yeah, for sure. And do you have any thoughts on that Utah game?
No, I mean, Utah's on fire right now. They've won 9 games in a row, very quietly, too. I had no idea, even before this game, I had no idea Utah had won 9 games in a row. They're doing it very quietly, and they're a good team.
Quietly a contender. Nobody said Utah was going to be there at the end in the West, and
they have a chance.
You never know.
They have a chance, and this is a tough loss. The Wizards, they did have the lead, but ultimately we're not able to hold on. And like I said, Utah's a good team, so not too surprising.
Yeah. All right, let's go through these upcoming games real fast. That way Carol can get into our football talk. The first one is at Chicago. So, Tim, what are your thoughts on that one?
Definitely a winnable game. We got Sato back playing the Wizards. I think Otto Porter is hurt, but that's definitely a toss-up type game that we can win.
Yeah, so that's an 8 o'clock on Wednesday, January 15th. On Friday, January 17th, we're going to Toronto at 7 o'clock. Brian, you play them a lot as a Knicks fan.
Yep.
What are some of your thoughts on Toronto?
Toronto's still really good. The last time they played the Wizards was a pretty good game that Toronto was able to hold on after a nice Wizards comeback. But I think this game should be a Toronto win. They're still the defending champions, still one of the best teams in the East. I think Toronto's probably going to win this one.
Right. And then the last game is Monday, January 20th on MLK Day. That's against Detroit. It's a 2 o'clock start. So next week in our Wizards talk, we'll recap Chicago and Toronto, but also have a post-game report for the Detroit game. Tim, what are some of your thoughts on the Detroit matchup?
I think the Wizards should definitely win this game. Detroit lost Griffin for the year, I believe. They have Drummond. They have a couple good players, but they're going nowhere this year, and that's a win for us.
Yeah.
Should be.
So
could be a 2-win week.
Maybe a 2-win week. All right. So I apologize for people watching the video. There's some issues with the second camera that's not streaming at the right speed of the other camera. So those are technical things that we'll work on as we move forward with a 2-camera setup. But I just wanted to try it out, and it was
You're not here
cool.
for our looks, people.
Right.
We're here for our hot takes.
Exactly.
Not our hot faces.
Right. Exactly. So I just wanted to at least shout it out that we'll continue to work on it. And it looks like there was another penalty on Carolina. Carol, you're on delay. Oh, it's a puck over the glass. That's it's a delay of game penalty on Carolina. And so the Capitals will get a late power play with about 3 minutes left in the first. So 2 out of those final 3 minutes, the Caps will be up a man, or hopefully less time, because hopefully that would mean they scored. But we'll definitely keep you updated on that. But with that, Carol, we're going to let you talk about some of these NFL wildcard games and break them down. And we might just get a quick take from our guys here when you're done on those matchups.
All right, no doubt. Appreciate that. We'll just recap real quick. Things like the same issues going on with this team: inconsistency, lack of defense. I think I saw one game where it was a combined 180-something shots taken. So hopefully they can get things together. But yeah, that's for another conversation for another day. Let's get the divisional round recap. We had 4 very exciting and very different games. We had the first game of the weekend.
Carol, I gotta interrupt you. We got another goal scoring situation. So so we got Ovi with his second goal of the game, actually. So he's representing all of our goals so far, and he's doing a good job with it. So this one on the replay, there's some good work along the boards. Pass it back, John Carlson, great pass to Ovechkin in his office, and he shoots it, and it's a goal, as always. Verano was covering up on point, and he's who passed it to Ovechkin. The goalie had moved over to the left, knowing that there was going to be an Ovechkin spot. but it wasn't left enough. It was able to get short side just between the goalie and the post. A beautiful goal by Ovi from his office. So I just wanted to get that in there. Now you can continue with your analysis of this week in football.
Nothing wrong with being interrupted by OV power play, so nothing wrong with it at all. And I'm just seeing it now on my delay, and there was a hell of a goal. So you know it's coming, but you still can't do nothing about it. Do nothing, caps up, that's beautiful. Let's get back to the NFL recap. We have San Francisco defeat Minnesota, which I had a 4-0 week, which, I wish I was putting some money on it because I could have some extra cash in my pocket. But 27-10, San Francisco defeated Minnesota. I'm not even going to get into I'm just getting stats and I'm not even going to get no opinions on this one because I know where I stand on Kirk Cousins. Garoppolo went 11 for 19 with 131 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 pick. Kirk Cousins went 21 for 29 for 172 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick. Dalvin Cook, 9 rushes for 8 yards. Coleman for San Francisco really dictated the pace of this game and really, settled things down in the second half. It was close in the first half, but things kind of went San Francisco's way in the second half. Kevin Coleman had 22 carries for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kurt, as I mentioned, only had 132 yards. Stephon Diggs had 57 of those. 41 was on the touchdown on the blown coverage. He only had 2 catches for the game. And Kendrick was that Bourne of San Francisco had 3 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. San Francisco is headed to the NFC Championship game for the first time in a long time. The second game was the game upset of the week that I did predict and told Baltimore fans that it was probably going to happen. And a lot of folks chimed on a poll that we put out there. I'll be putting another poll out for the championship games this week. So be sure to chime in on who you think is going to make it to the Super Bowl. But Tennessee defeated the top-ranked and highly touted Baltimore Ravens. Not top-ranked, but, they felt like they were going to make it to the Super Bowl. 28-12. Ryan Tannehill, the savior of the Titans, went 7 for 14, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 31 for 59 for 365, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. That's never good to have your quarterback on the ball over 50 times in a playoff game. That's not good. Talib Raymond had 1 catch for 45 yards. That came on a crucial play when Baltimore went for a 4 and did not get it. And they answered right after that play and kind of shifted the momentum and put things in the favor of the Titans. Marquise Brown for the Ravens had 7 catches for 26 yards, no touchdowns. Derrick Henry, the bell cow for this offense, 30 carries, 195 yards, no touchdowns. But he dictated the pace. They could not stop him. If you can't stop the run, it's no matter who you got a quarterback or what you have at the wide receiver position, they dictate the pace to wear your defense down and pretty much do what they did. Mark Ingram for the Ravens only had 6 carries for 22 yards, no touchdowns. As I said, no one pretty much saw this coming. They figured Baltimore would be able to run roughshod over Tennessee, but as I told Ravens fans, if they stay gap disciplined and spy Lamar Jackson will make things difficult on them, and the Ravens aren't used to playing from behind. So things went in the favor of Tennessee, and they beat the Pats. Last week, I had a feeling with Mike Vrabel as the head coach of Bill Belichick disciple, I had a feeling this might happen, and it did. Going into the game on Sunday, we had a crazy AFC divisional game between the Texans and the Chiefs. Texans had a 24-7 lead and ended up losing 51-31. Patrick Mahomes had a playoff record, throwing 4 touchdown passes in the second quarter. Sean Watson went 31 for 52 for 380 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mahomes went 23 for 35 for 321 yards and 5 touchdowns. Carlos Hyde had 13 carries for 44 yards and no touchdowns. Damian Williams had 12 rushes for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kenny Stills had 3 catches for 80 yards and a touch. Travis Kelce, 10 catches, 134 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now, this game changed. It was a crazy game because Houston, scored first. Then they got a gift on the turnover on special teams, and they were able to go 14. Didn't even see how they got the 24. I was on my way to the bar. By the time I got to the bar, it was 24-7. And then we saw a turnover by Houston on the impending kickoff when Kansas City had scored. And then things just snowballed. And with the talent that Kansas City has, the reason why Kelce went off like he did, because they were double-teaming Tyreek Hill and, bracketing Watkins. And Kelce just was abusing the linebackers and just running over the safety. So the Chiefs prevailed after going down 24-7, and they'll be going to the AFC Championship game. And the last game of the weekend, Green Bay over Seattle, 28-23. Russell Wilson went 21 for 31, 277 yards, a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers went 16 for 27, 243 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Marshawn Lynch was pretty much held in check, even though he did 2 touchdowns. He only had 12 carries for 26 yards. Aaron Jones had 21 carries for 62 yards. Both of them had 2 touchdowns, and neither one of the defenses could stop the opposing top wide receiver. Lockett for the Seahawks had 9 catches for 136 yards and a touchdown, and Devontae Adams for the Packers had 8 catches for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. I didn't actually get a chance to see how this game ended. I had some other things going on, but it was definitely the part that I saw was a very entertaining game, and that leads us into the
Carol,
which will be.
Carol, can I jump in real quick?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I actually did see the end of that game.
Go ahead, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought it was a phenomenal matchup between the Seahawks and the Packers. I actually thought the Seahawks played some really good defense down the stretch to get the ball back and have an opportunity to beat the Packers, being only down 5 and having a chance to having one of the MVP favorites to have the ball in his hands. But the Packers played some amazing defense down the stretch. And were able to turn around and stop the Seahawks and get the ball back. And they were able to force the using of all the timeouts. It's interesting that all the teams are copying this Bill Belichick move of, with over 5 minutes left, of trying to get the time winded all the way down, take the penalty, but then able to wind it even more. So you saw that in both in a bunch of games actually so far in the playoffs.
I've seen it all throughout the playoffs.
But the Packers overall, I thought played an amazing game against the Seahawks, and it was definitely a great game. And the other thing I was going to mention, something weird happened in the end of this Capitals period. And one of the things is when the Ovechkin scored his goal, they took a penalty. The Canes did. And so the penalty that came off the boards when Ovechkin scored the goal wasn't the penalty that was already in the box. It was kind of like if you could pull your goalie in that situation. And I'd never seen that before. I thought I would like it better if the other penalty came off and you get a fresh 2-minute power play. But and that's why I didn't even know another penalty had happened. I thought that the scoreboard operator hadn't taken away the power play marker, but that's what happened. But it ends up being 2-0 Capitals going into the first intermission. And now, Carol, I'll let you talk about the 2 championship games.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's interesting, the way that ended. I didn't get to see it. I watched it, but I didn't see it. So, we have the AFC Championship, Tennessee at Kansas City, 3:05 start. Tennessee with Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick disciple. I think we might have seen the changing of the guard in the AFC with Tennessee knocking off the Pats last week and taking out Baltimore this week. To beat Kansas City in Kansas City will be a tall feat. You saw Houston get a 24-7 lead and find a way to get outscored like they did. And but I feel Tennessee has a recipe to be able to knock them off with a stout running game, a good defense, and as long as they stay gap discipline and they don't really have to spy Patrick Mahomes, but still keep somebody to keep him honest, because he is good at buying time with his feet. and he can break the pocket and hurt you. We saw that yesterday against Houston when they were down, and he started getting momentum by breaking the pocket when the coverages they were using weren't working. Were working at that point, and he started breaking the pocket. That's when you make the defensive coordinator switch up his game plan and start exploiting the things that made you successful, which we saw them do yesterday. But I'm not counting Kansas City out. We know Andy Reid's record in the playoffs. This is like his 8th championship game with the team, and only been to the Super Bowl one time as a head coach. So we know his track record. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but as I've always said, if it does happen, I won't be surprised.
Real quickly.
And we have the NFC championship.
I was just going to say, it was a 24-0 lead. And then it was kind of nuts because I was looking through the scoring. Kansas City then went on to score 41 points until Houston was able to score again. Yep. So they went on a 41-0 run in that game to make it 41-24. And then with 24 seconds left in the third quarter, that's when Deshaun Watson rushed for a touchdown to make it 41-31. And they still had a chance in that game, Kansas City, in the fourth quarter a couple of times. But then they obviously piled on at the end. But I just thought that was kind of incredible. I've never seen such a shift to go up 24-0 and then allow 41 straight points.
Too.
Yeah,
like it all happened. Boom, 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 boom,
yeah,
boom. Like
that was
nothing.
crazy.
It was an interesting game. Like I said, I saw the first two scores, and then I left where I was at and went to the bar, and I got there. It was 24-7. Kansas City had just scored, and then the momentum shifted with that turnover on the kickoff. They scored right after that. Then they got a short field again because Houston started getting too fancy. They did a trick play that backfired on them. That it didn't work, and they were on their heels after that. And once Kansas City started getting the momentum, pressure burst pipes. And the pressure was on Houston because they know what Kansas City is capable of. And even though the fact that they were double covering Tyreek Hill, that he didn't hurt them and he didn't win the game for Kansas City, they have so many weapons that it doesn't make a difference. And Andy Reid, we know how good of an offensive play caller he is. And with Mahomes doing what he's done, I mean, it happens. And then, like I said, then we go into the NFC Championship game. Green Bay at San Francisco as a 6:40 start on Sunday. I'm going with San Francisco. I feel like their defense is a notch better than Seattle. As they mentioned on the broadcast, Seattle runs a base 4-3 defense. They don't really blitz a lot. They just let their front four do the thing and try to let the back seven, do what they do. But unfortunately, when you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you give him time, which happens when you only rush 4. He can pick anybody apart, especially when you're running the man zone combination route, combination defense as they were running yesterday, which I totally didn't understand. There were times where they should have ran some different coverage that would have stopped some of the things that Green Bay was doing, but they did not, and that's why they're at home watching the NFC Championship game next week. I feel like San Francisco, their defense is a notch better. They force their first turnovers. They can get to the quarterback, and they're not afraid to blitz because the guys that they have in the back end and in the linebacker core can cover, and they can rush. The offense is with Kyle Shanahan calling plays. It's very diverse, so I feel like they'll be able to put up enough points and they'll be able to get enough pressure on Aaron Rodgers and that offense to slow them down. But they're going to have to stop Aaron Jones. That's definitely going to be the key because if he gets going and they're able to throw the ball to him out the backfield and get him running the ball well, it's going to be a long day. But I feel like it's going to be a Tennessee versus San Francisco Super Bowl, and if that happens, I'll give my prediction next week after the games are played.
Sounds good.
On that note, I'll pass it back to Robbie.
Yeah, real quickly.
Than I expected.
No.
I'll let you guys get into the national championship matchup up until kickoff.
Yeah, so it turns out kickoffs, I believe, at 8:15. So we've got a little bit of time to break it down. So I think it'll work out perfectly. I want to get the guys quick score predictions, or not score predictions, but who they think will be in the Super Bowl real fast. So Brian, I'll start with you. I'm gonna switch it to the other cam. But who do you got? Who do you have in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, in the NFC, I think it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers over the Packers. I think the 49ers are the best team still playing in the NFC. It's hard for me to go against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I think I'm going to go with a 49ers versus Chiefs Super Bowl.
Who do you got, Tim?
I'm actually going to agree with Carol on both counts. I think the 49ers are going to win. They do have the better defense. They're also playing at home. And just as a Ravens fan, I've seen the Titans buzzsaw momentum, in action, and I just think they're going to pull it out, and Andy Reid will probably choke again for like the 7th time.
Interesting. Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from there. I definitely think it's going to be a tough matchup, but I definitely agree with Carol. I think that it'll probably be the 49ers and Tennessee there in the end. I just think that those are two teams that just have proven that they can beat other good teams, and I wasn't sold necessarily on the. I know that Kansas City did come back, and it was a big game, but I don't know. I just we'll see if they can do that 2 weeks in a row, and I think that the play style is so different between Tennessee and Houston. I think that Tennessee is a really great defensive team. They really rely on the running back position, and it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. And I just think that the defense is better for Tennessee than the Texans. Although I have to say I was kind of hoping for a rematch just because they had each won one game between Tennessee and the Texans, and it would be cool to see a divisional rival. I was sort of sad that didn't happen. Also, it would be the new Houston versus the old Houston teams, which would have been a cool story. But anyway.
Cheat better.
Yeah, exactly. So those are some of our thoughts. So I've already switched the camera over to the Battle of the Tigers, or is that what we're going to call it? The Tiger Bowl.
Tigers versus Tigers.
The Siegfried and Roy Bowl.
Exactly. So two different types of Tigers, whether you're a Clemson fan or an LSU fan. For me, the games that came up before this one were vastly different. I thought the LSU game that they played against OU, Oklahoma, was just not a very good game. I thought
a terrible game.
Yeah,
it was awful.
LSU just dominated. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts on that matchup, real quick?
Yeah, LSU absolutely owned Oklahoma in that game. It wasn't even close. Joe Burrow, I think, threw for 8 touchdowns or something crazy.
Yeah, like more than Matt Ryan did, like the whole season, like
in that stadium.
Yeah,
it's a crazy game, and it should set LSU up tonight against Clemson. Clemson won their game, like you said, Robbie, very differently. Than,
Tim, real quick, your thoughts on the LSU one, and then we'll get into that other game.
Oh, for the LSU win, just a lot of relatives in Columbus, Ohio, huge Ohio State fans. Kind of ironic that the guy they let transfer made it to the championship in the same day that they lost their opportunity to go there. And also, I think if you own a jersey company, go ahead and print your Joe Bureau Cincinnati Bengals jerseys right now. I think that's a safe investment. So
yeah, I mean they need a quarterback. So I definitely. But he's one of those quarterbacks I think would be great in college, but he reminds me a lot of Johnny Football. Will he be good at that next level?
I don't think he's cocky or anything like Johnny.
No, not the personality type, but just a lot of these guys that are seem multi-versatile. I would not be shocked if he was also a dud, especially if going to Cincinnati.
It's a hard place to be a successful quarterback.
Exactly.
To say the least.
So I mean, if he was in a different system, maybe I'm not. I think he's a great quarterback. I mean, obviously he won the Heisman.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. But it's always a big question mark on whether quarterbacks will make that jump to the next level. Sometimes
he's not a sure thing.
Sometimes these unknown ones. I mean, look at Tom Brady. No one thought that he was going to be that great, and he's the greatest of all time. Where there are other ones where people were like, "This is the next coming," and they don't even pan out for a year. So it's just exactly, Ryan Leaf. So it's just it's always tough in my mind to predict how a player will go, but I agree that he's the odds-on favorite. I mean, Heisman Trophy winner, they need a quarterback, so I'd be surprised if they didn't. 100% chance, that wouldn't surprise me. But it's interesting because Clemson last year made their name known by beating a big powerhouse SEC team. I think they match up very well. They've played against a bunch of really tough SEC teams already this year.
It's not like LSU is 100% going to win.
Clemson
definitely has a chance.
The Vegas odds are about 5 points.
Yeah, 5 points.
I think is fair.
Yeah. So
LSU favored.
What were some of your thoughts on that Clemson game that I thought was a bit of a better matchup?
Well, my uncle's still bitching on Facebook about how the Ohio State Buckeyes got hosed by the refs. Personally, I think it was a great game, and you can definitely make an argument that that fumble touchdown recovery was a valid play and shouldn't have been overturned. But again, I mean, this is Clemson. Game after game, they can get down. They do not panic. They always come back. They have complete composure, and you can never count them out. And they get picked against every single game. Not every single game, but very often, and they just find a way to win. And I just think they have that, that mental maturity, whatever you want to call it, where they're going to pull out a win if it's close, and they're not going to give up.
Hey, Brian, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just back to that Ohio State game. I mean, Ohio State fans are right. I think some people think they have a right to be pissed because of what happened, but I think if they had gotten better play down the stretch from their quarterback, they probably would have won the game. I mean, the interception at the end was just awful. It wasn't anybody.
They also could have put away Clemson early because they could have been up 28-0.
Yeah,
they had 4 straight possessions in the red zone or something like that. So,
and I mean, Ohio State and Clemson were pretty evenly matched, so it's not really too surprising that Clemson won this game. I mean, they're 2 of the best teams in the country all season, so it could have gone either way. And I'm not surprised Clemson. Trevor Lawrence hasn't lost a game yet in college, which is crazy. We'll see if that streak continues tonight. We'll see.
Yeah, it's weird. I somehow, going after the games last week, I was like, oh, LSU's definitely the better team, but still, in my heart of hearts, because of what you just said, he hasn't lost a game yet.
Yeah.
He's found so many ways to beat really good teams. I'm going to go on this crazy feeling that Clemson's going to win this game, and I don't know why. It's because I went against them last year, and so, of course, now they'll probably lose. Yeah. But I'm going to pick Clemson in this one. Tim, who do you got?
I'm going to take Clemson by 3 points also. Just like I talked about, I think they're unflappable. They've got the mental edge. They have a fantastic coach. And every time I pick against them, they win. So I'm going to stop doing that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with LSU in this game. I think Joe Burrow is just gonna cap off his amazing season with the national championship win, and go into the pros and champion. I love their coach Ed Orgeron. I think he's awesome. So I like Dabo Sweeney too, but I really love Coach O. So I'm hoping Coach O gets a national championship.
Do you think it's close, or do you think it's gonna be?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I think this will definitely be a good game for sure. But LSU will pull it out.
Interesting. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. And, it's been a great season. I'll give Texas A&M a shout-out for winning their bowl game. I know that my wife is a diehard Aggies fan. There was a lot of great bowl games. I wish we had more time to break down all the wonderful bowl games that happened, but I do want people to be able to. The second period just started for the Capitals. They're still up 2-0, and the game's about to start. So we're going to actually end it a little bit before, and that way people can get their food and drinks ready and check out a really great national championship game. But
grab some butts.
But I wanted to give one final chance for Brian and Tim to say their final thoughts. I know that Brian had some thoughts on some baseball, so I'll let him give his take on Houston and the situation that was happening down there today real fast.
First off, follow me on Instagram at bbrian1991, Twitter at bbrian1991, Sports Takes and Movie Reviews, Instagram at Brian B Sports Takes. The Astros got their punishments handed out today for their cheating scandal. Their manager, AJ Hinch, got suspended for a year, and their GM, Jeff Luna, also got suspended for a year, and then they both subsequently got fired. I think this is great. I love it. I want to see the Astros get punished as severely as possible because they are dirty cheaters. Their championship is forever tainted. So is the Red Sox championship in 2018. I can't wait to see what punishment Alex Cora gets next This is great. I love it. The Yankees are going to dominate in 2020.
Any final thoughts?
I mean, I think that's hilarious. I also just wanted to mention, shout out to my grandmother. She also gave me a hilarious Christmas gift. It was a book about winning the Astros way. It wasn't about cheating. It was about analytics. But maybe they should, rewrite the afterword or whatever.
So true, yeah. So it's interesting to see what comes down. It may end up being that the Nationals have the only legit World Series in the last 3 years, which is a pretty...
Don't jinx it.
Yeah.
We might have cheated.
I hope we didn't.
Yeah.
I don't see how
Baby shark cheating.
Yeah, baby shark. That's all we needed. So, but overall, it was definitely an interesting day. It'll be interesting to see what comes next from the MLB. I love how they have to actually look at the Red Sox cheating from last year before they can make a decision about what to do with him as a coach. So that's pretty funny. Beltran kind of got off surprisingly.
Yeah, all the players got off easy.
Yeah, the players didn't get. They said that it was the coaches that got to put him in there.
Player-driven?
But it was player-driven, but the coaches didn't
Alex
stop
Cora
it.
was like the main guy in charge of it. He's now the Red Sox manager, and hopefully he gets punished for a long
he should
time.
get punished.
Lifetime ban would be so awesome.
Yeah, so it's just the whole thing is very, very, very
what
strange.
managers can they get this late? I guess.
The
backup. You look at your bench coach.
Since the beginning of time. This is nothing new. This is the appease the fans. The championship is entertaining. They got their ring. They got their World Cup, the World Championship Series trophy in their front office. This is all just for show. It doesn't really make a difference. Still inside of baseball, it has been going on forever. It's just technology involved. They have tangible proof. So now they can actually punish people for stuff that's been going on over and over again. Now, if they start dealing with the strike zone and these overzealous umpires that want to that shows up the players because they feel like they're more important than the players, then I'll applaud that. But this right here, it's some BS just to keep fans happy, and that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I do want to mention on a little bit of a sadder note, but it's something I just wanted to point out. Is one of our prospects in the pitching world, I think Fausto Segura has he died in a motorcycle crash, unfortunately, in I believe it was the Dominican Republic or he's out of the Dominican Republic. I don't know where the crash happened, but so our thoughts and prayers are with him. A little bit of a sad news, but I just wanted to point out a little bit of baseball news, and we'll see how all this pans out. It's as we get closer to next season for sure. But I want to thank. We had Brian Brennan here and Tim Clark live in the Man Cave, so that was fun. And Carol, thank you for all of the stuff that you have done. The NFL talk and more. And we'll definitely have another big show next week. And I'm going to end my Facebook live stream right there, but I'll let you give your final take after that.